Hi, good evening again. You are viewing Wisdom Keys for Focusing on Your Passion. LaunchPad Consultancy, in collaboration with VisionWorks Solutions, bring to you Book Club Conversations Series 3. And in this series, entrepreneurs and professionals are reading the book The Uncommon Dream 31 Wisdom Keys for Focusing on the Passion of Your Heart, written by author Mike Murdoch. I am your host, Alina Lewis, and today's discussion is from chapter 17, entitled The Uncommon Dream Must Be Clearly Defined and Continuously Refined. Joining me this evening for discussion is Natasha Ramprasad, owner of Infinity Creations, and Simone Nickham, principal of Create Your Own Narrative. So while I welcome them into our virtual studio, I welcome, of course, those who would be viewing live. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay.
Awesome. Simone, how have you been keeping? Oh, I think Simone is a bit frozen for a minute. So she'll be back with us in a minute. But I mean, we continue on with our book club conversations. Live audience, give us one moment. Simone, can you talk to me? Let me make sure your frame is working well.
Sure. Hi, good evening, everyone.
Great, we're hearing you now. Awesome. So, ladies, we are on chapter 17. We're 17 days into our series 3 book club conversations, where we're talking about all of the elements in our mind, our bodies, our spirits, our souls, our understanding, our physical surroundings. We're talking all things vision, all things dream, all things uncommon that is really meant to lead us into the new season, the new space of planning, the launch, the relaunch, the expansion, whatever it is that we have coming. So even as we're talking about chapter 17 takes a look and says the uncommon dream must be clearly defined and continuously refined. So even as we jump in this evening, the first thing I want us to start talking about is our power quote. After this, we're going to be taking from you what is your power quote from chapter 17. So, ladies, what is your power quote, Natasha? What is that line that stands out to you from the chapter?
Well, there were so many lines, but I wish I could take it all. But the one thing that really stood out to me was the very first line in that chapter that said, "Strength is the product of focus." Because then he went on to explain what that meant. But I mean, just that simple thought sentence already has so much in it. Strength is the product of focus. So for me, the main thing there was if I have my focus and I am really clear of what my focus is, then my outcome is going to be strength, which will ultimately mean achieving my dream. So that was my focus.
Yeah, Simone, what about you?
What stood out for me was that you will not change your life until you change the vision. Because whatever you keep seeing on the inside of you is what your faith will operate on. And the uncommon dream, a dream is really something that is always on the inside first. It has to be, it originates rather from within you. And if it's how you see it, how you frame it, eventually what will drive you. So that really stood out for me.
Yeah, one of the things that I really wanted to mention as a power quote is where it says that the quality of your uncommon dream does not guarantee the fulfillment of your dream. And I thought that was a noteworthy point, because a lot of times we think that just because we feel passionate about the dream and it is a great dream or great vision, it automatically feels that it should just come to pass just like that, just because. And I like that quote because it reminds us it's not quite that way. Just because you're passionate, just because it's a great idea, doesn't mean it's going to come to pass automatically. There is work that needs to be put into it. And for that reason, I thought it was noteworthy to mention. But I haven't asked you yet, what stood out to you the most from reading? Natasha, we will start with you. What would have stood out to you the most while reading this chapter?
What stood out to me most was very similar to what Simone just said, that it's an invisible picture in your mind. Your dream is something that you see in your mind, a picture. And for me personally, I relate to that because I see a lot of pictures and ideas. My imagination is always very active as an artist. And the fact that he said that what you constantly see in your mind, the thing that you are always engaged in mentally, that will be your focus. And then that is going to have a lot of impact and effect on your entire life and the decisions you make, the progress you make or the progress you don't make. So it's what your mind engages on, that picture in your mind, the focus, that has to be clear.
Yeah,
That's me, yeah.
yeah. Simone, what about you? What stood out most in chapter 17 for you?
So for me, it implies uncertainty is part of the process. Feeling this thing on the inside, is it real or individual have to come to terms with in order to press through, to make it real, to make it a reality. And something that you said, Alina, you spoke about the quality of your dream. And it implies that there's a filter to it. So, yes, I have this dream, and yes, there's the uncertainty. But the more I focus on it, it's like a black and white photo in the days where they had the negatives, where it's there, but it takes something for that picture to actually come to life. So that is what stood out to me in reading the chapter. Uncertainty is a given, it's part of it, it's normal. But as we focus on that dream, it comes more and more and more into reality and more definite.
Yeah, and even as you talk about reading, let's take another moment and let's get into our segment of reading for meaning. What reading for meaning tip are you applying or have you applied as you've continued on that you think would be helpful for those viewing to adapt or consider including as part of their routine? Anybody? Open question.
Okay. One of the things that I have done in the past, and also with this book, and I'm doing it more than I used to, is connecting a lot of the key points that are applicable to me now, but also are very useful in other areas of my life, and that could propel me into the future. And I'm also connecting it to other people I know who are, in a sense, mentors and leaders in my individual field. And I see the principles here reflected in what they do and what they teach. So it's like I'm gathering all these food and nutrition, for want of a better word, so that I'm like gleaning from all different areas. So I would make little mental notes, or even just notes on the book or whatever, but I connect the dots and I see that it's almost like I'm getting a picture of almost like universal principles that works across the board. So I see that that's something that I am doing in reading the book and relating it to other authors, other leaders in the area, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Simone, what about you? Simone? Okay, we seem to be having a bit of a
Oh,
technical glitch with
okay.
Simone.
So for me, just like
Go ahead, Simone.
right. So just as Natasha was experiencing some points in my life, the things that may have been happening that I didn't realize, okay, this is what was taking place. So now that is that looking back and that understanding, it adds clarity. And that clarity helps me move forward with it. So I would say, link it to what may have happened in the past, because there's still a lot of rich learning to get from it. One thing that stood out to me is the fact that, every chapter begins with the uncommon dream. There are time tense, but we have to realize it to life.
Okay. So definitely, even as we continue on with the conversation, in the book, we have the space where the author says you can only do what you see internally and outwardly. And even as the author wrote that, it talks about that space of having that a sense of determination where we are comparing our influences, the internal vision as an influencer and our external environment as an influencer. My question to you, ladies, is to what extent does your external impact on your vision, and to what extent does your internal vision impact what you do? So I know that's a loaded question there, but I want to know to what extent does your external environment impact your vision, and to what extent does your internal impact what you do? Natasha?
Yes, sure. For me personally, my external helps me to really have I must plan, I must strategize, I must have a schedule because there are other responsibilities that would demand my time and focus and energy and attention. So I must plan my time well in order to feed my dream so that I won't neglect it. And also in terms of it also helps to help me narrow down my distractions, really identify those distractions, cut those off, and narrow down my focus of what is priority and what is not as it relates to my dream. So that's two major ways my external surroundings impact my dream and my picture, my focus internally. And my internal factors, it's something that it's in progress because I've realized through this book and some other readings I've been doing and some other teachings that I'm in, that a lot of the mindsets and behaviors that I developed as a child has impacted the way I make decisions as an adult. And so I need to I'm identifying some of those negative mindsets where I told myself in some cases that I cannot accomplish this, so I cannot make it in that certain sphere, or, I cannot interact with this sort of kind of in this environment. So I have to consciously, constantly, always be aware of those sorts of negative thoughts which have become so familiar. And with consciousness and constant focus, I have to flip it now, but with the help and the grace of God, of course, and really turn it positive. And it's in a way retraining and rewiring my brain in a sense. It's like that book Joyce Meyer has, Battlefield of the Mind. I have to constantly remember that the battle is in my mind and I must win the battle every time. And it's an ongoing thing. So that's how my external and my internal factors has impacted me in, focusing on my dream.
Yeah, definitely. Even there was something I was reading in here uh, where it says you must define your dream, refine it, and confine your life to it. And I repeat that for those who are listening on. Mike Murdoch says you must define your dream, refine it, and confine your life to it. So, of course, my first question to you, Natasha, is how do you refine the dream or the vision? I tend to use the word vision. What is your process of refining so that it always brings you into the space that you want to be in?
For me, refining my dream or my vision, it's a process that happens on a daily basis. It happens sometimes on a monthly basis, because it's refining your dream personally for me goes in tandem with what is happening currently in my life. So where I was last year in terms of achieving my dream is not the same place where I am today. And where I am today, if I continue the process of refining my dream, will not be the same place where I will be next year at the same time. So,
But
it,
forgive
it,
me if I missed this, Natasha.
Mhm.
But what I'm asking is what is your actual process of refining your dream? How do you refine the dream?
Right. So I was going to now say I
I'm
refined
watching you.
it's quite all right, but I wanted to say why it's at how it helps constant refining. So I refine my dream by every ever so often and very often. It's because it has to be on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, a monthly basis. You sit down and I call it, I've learned a SWOT analysis, whether my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and I can't remember what T
Threats.
is right now. Right,
Threats.
threats, right. So I look at it from those angles. It doesn't have to be specific like that, but I see where something needs to improve, what I need to do to achieve this short-term goal at this point in time, what was already accomplished, and where does it need to go next. And I put those steps in place and I plan, okay, maybe this budget could go to here. Maybe I need to do something in this area to get this sort of people. Maybe I need to, if I have this new idea of, let's say, a different kind of workshop that I want to have, what is a strategy that I can use that is different from what I did in the past? So it's like a constant sort of objective analysis of your short-term goals, and then it will impact the long-term goals. So it's something that's done almost on a daily basis, if not every day, at least, every week, and then a bit longer, a couple months, and then year to year.
Yeah. Simone, I was just talking about when the book, the author says you must define your dream, refine it, and confine your life to it. And the question was, how we've spent a lot of the previous days talking about defining the dream. But now I'm asking, as an entrepreneur and a professional, how do you refine your vision? How do you refine the dream?
Right. So for me, one thing I know is I I'm not shy to take it step by step. So for example, when I launched Create Your Narrative, I know I wanted to be a facilitator doing workshops. And I allow that to give me a good idea of what um, the clients, the individuals that I am meant to serve wanted. So I gave myself some time in terms of how many workshops I wanted to have to gather information on what I wanted to do, on what would be the next steps. So I tend to listen to what the participants are saying to give me an understanding and to clarify for me, do I have the right participants in terms of what this dream involves and in terms of touching their dreams to help them? A lot of times I'll find that I have the right participants. What they may need is now something that I would have to decide, is this the direction in which you want to go? And yes, if it is, what do you do to develop it so that that area that they are looking at, you're able to provide it? So as I am going along, I'm listening, I'm staying in tuned to understand what the actual participants want. I'm also listening to individuals around me, and I'm also doing, continuous reading to understand my craft, what I'm doing. It will also help me to decide, is this something that I want to add or not? So, like Natasha said, you figure out, okay, this is part of what Create Your Narrative is going to be, or this is not part what it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm enjoying having gotten similar thread, but what I perceive to be two different perspectives from both of you. Because when I listened to Natasha, she would have shared more of taking a logical, analytical approach in terms of the external
It's what?
environment. And
Yes.
then I listened to you, which is awesome, by the way. And I listened to you, and you're sharing, Simone, about taking in a lot of feedback and using feedback from your circles to help you understand how, to what extent it's aligning with what you have planned for you to move forward. And both are awesome, and both are great approaches, and I want to compliment those two by encouraging persons to also consider, take a look at the original. A lot of times, we if we were to have a conversation about it, we would have to admit the environment has changed, will change, will continue to change, and all of the changes in our external environment, and we too as individuals change as we go along. But sometimes I really believe it's also helpful to take a step back and look at the original vision, the core of why or how or where, because the core of it all also gives us a sense of direction as to how we refine the vision to suit the current atmosphere that we're in. And so even as I listen to those examples, even if I were to think of my work, for instance, in my work in education, everything I do is fueled by the notion that we are engaging excellence. Everything. So it doesn't matter what it is, it always comes back to the question, because that is our core. We are engaging excellence among learners, supporting parents. So those are two out of the
Right.
three things that makes up our mission. So you find for every time the environment changes, let's give an example. We are in a virtual learning world. there are many ways to deal with virtual learning. We could engage learning on virtual platforms. But the thing that drives that tells us how to do it, are we going to be able to engage excellence among our learners? And if the answer is no, it's not an option. Even though it literally says we can do it, the core of it says what we do is we engage excellence among learners. So if we can't engage excellence, if we can't give quality learning experiences, then that approach is not, even if everybody else is doing it, it does not matter. That is not how we will do it, because we are here to engage excellence among learners. So the SWOT is awesome. Getting your feedback is awesome. And I also want to encourage persons to consider, even for those who would look at it and thinking, in these COVID recovery days, I need to refine my vision. Take a look at the original, understand the core of who you are and what you do, the personality of your business, what you originally came out here to do. And when we look at the original, it helps us to then look at the external environment and adopt what both of you said as well, to say, okay, this is how we can move forward. Finally, I want to ask, the last part of that statement by Mike Murdoch says you have to define it, you have to refine it. But he says you have to confine your life to it. Usually, persons don't phrase it like that. Usually, we think about confining the dream to our life, not our life to the dream. So my question is, do you confine your life to your dream, or is your dream fitted within the scope of your life? Because I think that is probably going to be the big deal factor to determine whether your dream falls in that category of an uncommon dream. Because remember, the book is not about the dream or one of the many dreams I have, but the uncommon dream, the big thing that we're pushing. So my question to you, just repeating, does your life confine to your dream, like the author was saying, or does the dream confine to your life? What is your personal experience? Anybody? Open question.
Well, for me personally, I must say that it is um, it's in progress. I think with the situations of my life at present, I cannot confine 100% of my life to the dream the way I would like it to be. That is the ultimate goal, but I'm in the process of getting there. So I look for ways and as often as I can, and as practical and as easy as I can, to make as many facets of my life fit into my dream. But at the same time, it's almost like a compromise I have to make. There are times when I have to give other situations, more weight as it relates to my dream. But that's because of where I am presently. And as we said before, as I keep refining, my hope and my dream really is that my entire life will be able to be confined into the dream, so that the dream is the determining factor, and as you say, the core where everything is run from and decisions are made from that core, rather than the compromise stage where I'm at now. And I think it's good for me to be here at this stage because I'm learning so many things. And I don't think if I had it immediately that I would have learned some of the things that I already have. So I really truly believe that the process teaches you so much, and it makes you so much more prepared to handle being in a place where your life can be confined to your dream. And so that's where I am. I'm in process of being there right now.
Yeah. Simone,
Yeah.
what about you?
I I get to live my dream because of the nature of it. And when I say that, my dream is about encouraging individuals to be their authentic selves intentionally. to find what makes them them in terms of their personality, so they're inward, and how do you allow it to motivate you, to drive you, to let you be outwardly. So I am truly blessed to be able to live that. So, for example, I've been told you ask too many questions or you talk too much. And actually, that is what got me into my present full-time job that I have now. And that is what has refined me in the organization to get additional responsibility. So I get to do what I like. But the other part of my dream is in helping individuals to do the same. And one way I do that is by having the workshops. I don't always get to confine my life to be able to deliver workshops as often as I want to. Even when a participant may ask me to get further help, finding that time to be able to meet them in a timely fashion, it means I now have to carve out that space to be able to deliver that in a timely way. So in a sense, that also helps to refine the dream. But for now, 1 out of 2 parts, I get to live my dream. So I confine my life to it. And then the other part is a work in progress to get there.
That's it. So definitely, if not, we bring this conversation to host Simone. Stay in with us, and can you take a minute to share more about Create Your Own Narrative?
Oh, Create Your Narrative, that's my baby. So I want you to just quickly think about a crayon. Think about any color you want. Now that you have that color in mind, think about that colored crayon, all sparkly, and think about the impact it has. A black and white picture, you color it with a regular crayon and then color it with a sparkly crayon. That is who I believe each and every one of us is, by believing in what we were meant to do, made to do, by bringing out that uncommon dream that is within all of us. And that's what Create Your Own Narrative is about.
Awesome, definitely. And Natasha, you are the owner of Infinity Creations. Can I have you just take a minute to share with the audience more about what Infinity Creation does? Oh, Natasha, we can't hear you. Sorry. I think you muted yourself.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't want any background noise. Sorry about that. Infinity Creations is about eternal arts for the human soul. And there are 3 ways that we help others experience eternal art. One is through the teaching and training of prophetic arts. Another way is through engaging and transforming workshop sessions, which are the SIP, paint, and prophesy sessions. And we also have commissions and sales of prophetic artwork and portraits.
I love that. You caught me at sip paint and the other thing. You caught me right there. You made me think, gosh, I wish I loved painting. But lady, as always, it's so great having you on. Of course, my name is Alina Lewis, and it's always my pleasure to coordinate these book club conversations. For those who are viewing on, remember we're on each night at 8:30, running until December 20th, as we continue on looking at The Uncommon Dream by author Mike Murdoch. Ladies, have a good night. Ladies and gentlemen viewing, have a good one. Until tomorrow, take care.